guys, it is Esther here from Dream Team International. We are back in the motherland, and today we uncover the story of another trailblazing Ghanaian creative, Frances Y. Brown, the founder of the award-winning animation studios Animax FYB, based right here in Accra. So come along with me. We're about to go in here. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, Animax FYB, and yeah, let's go into the studio. Changing my nest, fill the wallet. Hi, Frances. How are you?
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Wow, this is a beautiful studio.
Thank you.
Frances.
Hello, Esther. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank
Well, thank you so much for allowing my team and I to be here at your beautiful studios. I'm so excited to get into your story. Like, from just what I've read and what I've seen, yeah, you're doing amazing, sweetie. And let's get right into it, because I know there's a lot to talk about. Yeah. So I want to start with your childhood. Can you talk about growing up, what your childhood was like, and were there any creative arts introduced to you?
So growing up, I grew up in Sarkodie, a place called Timbaba. That was my neighborhood. And I grew up in a compound house. And in that house, I wasn't introduced to creative art, but I think I was rather the one who introduced creative art to the compound.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm born naturally an artist. So I was literally creating with anything and everything that came across my way in the house. So the kids will come around me and they would like for me to draw something for them.
Nice.
And all that. We create our own tin cars. We will create our own mansions with the clay, build our small blocks out of it and all that. Yeah, then I'll be carving woods that comes across my way. So that is how my creativity just sparked.
So how did you discover that this was something that you were good at?
In terms of animation.
Your creative arts in general, like drawing and stuff like that, like carving. Yeah.
So when I was doing it at the time, it was pure out of intuition that I was doing this. But then I grew up in a very enabling environment. It wasn't just the people in the household, but the person that I was staying with, who allowed me to really explore my creativity. That's my grandmother, Madame Mary Kofi. So she saw the art in me, and she encouraged it a lot because she was buying me color pencils, watercolors, drawing books, and even storybooks, because she was trying to also kill two birds with one stone. Get me to read, but at the same time to be interested in my art by seeing beautiful pictures and replicating on some of the white sheets that she brings from her office. And she will sometimes even encourage me to trace on the images that I see, because I'm struggling to replicate it directly onto the sheet. Then she said, any master of anything tries to replicate from other sources till they get it.
Right. Until you get your own flow.
So that's how it all started, basically.
So thinking back at Frances at 5 years old, Frances at 15, and then Frances at 30. I'm assuming you're in 30s.
I don't put it out there, but maybe not.
Maybe not, but you're somewhere over there.
Okay.
Let's think about those Frances at those age. What is the similarity at Frances 5 years old, 15, and Frances now, and what are the differences?
Similarities, I would say passion. I've always been a very passionate person, and I'm still passionate with whatever I do. So if you see me doing something, it means that I really want to do it. And if I'm not interested, I don't do it at all. Another thing too that I'll say is detail. I've always been a very detailed person. I don't play with I don't play with the nitty-gritties of things. I like to really understand and also go deeper into whatever I'm doing. And also curiosity. I'm very curious. So it has always landed me in trouble, which is the bad side of it. Sometimes the trouble ends up being good trouble. Because if you don't fall, you wouldn't know.
Right.
Yeah. So, that's what it has been for me when it comes to the similarities, and also the difference has been a lot of maturity, a lot of growth, because now I'm getting understanding. Back in the day when I do something, I want to do it with my own wisdom.
Right.
And if it's not going the way I want it to go, then I become frustrated.
Right.
And then it will become a problem. But then I've come to understand how to relate with humans, to know how human mind works, and also how to, move step by step per everything. Nothing just comes by itself at once. So I've learned all these things through the journey.
Nice, beautiful journey. And I want to talk about way before you got here. What was your first introduction to animation?
My first introduction to animation professionally will be when I completed. In fact, when I was in high school, I went to St. John's School, based in Sarkodie, Cedi. I did visual art over there. I also did visual art, and that's what I wanted to do actually. So I already knew that I was going to be an animator from that moment, because my grandmother plugged it into my mind that all your sketches have strong poses and emotions. So these animations or cartoons that you watch all the time, in the future you can be producing some of it.
So, and that's what your grandma told you?
And it got stuck.
Wow.
Like, it got so stuck that up to now, there's nothing that can take it off my mind.
That's so important to have people at an early childhood, like, encouraging you like that and speaking into you. I think that really it pushes you,
Yeah, the woman did something great for me, and I'm always grateful for that. And so at high school, I knew that I would like to go into animation after high school. But the challenge was how to get into it, because I hadn't used computer before. Yes, even as we had computer lab at school, like, I hardly go to I never went to the computer lab because it wasn't even accessible. That's the first thing. So to be a computer literate or to even understand how to start off was very challenging. Right. So my whole intention was, okay, after high school, I would see if my old boy can help me gather some funds to go school abroad, either in France or even in Africa, or go to South Africa. At the time, they were the only ones with proper animation school.
Right.
I didn't know that in Ghana we had a film school that also trains in animation, but mine was more geared towards 3D animation, not 2D. So there was a guy that I trained with. He taught me how to use computer.
Right.
And he taught me how to also use the designing application softwares like CorelDRAW, Photoshop. These were the main softwares. Then he helped me with Alias 4. Today we call it Maya.
Okay.
So
that's one of the apps?
Yes, it's one of the apps, and that one was particularly for animation, 3D. And this era that I'm talking about, this year that I'm talking about, Ghanaians were actually taking their animation commercials to South Africa, 3D animation commercials, not 2D. 2D, Zangaro and Akroma were there, and they had produced something small in that space. But when it comes to real storytelling and producing in 3D, we didn't have anyone. But there was one guy, his name is Prince. His dad used to have this company called Village Communications. I don't know if you guys remember or you know. Village Communications, they produce Taxi Driver.
I know Taxi
Taxi?
Taxi Driver.
Yes. So his son I would say, I can boldly say Prince is one of the first Ghanaians to ever travel outside of the country to go study animation. So, and he was very good friends with my boss, Barnabas Coley. And Barnabas told him that I have this chap here. He's doing something that, I mean, no one in this country is doing, and I don't know how to support him because I also don't have the knowledge.
Right.
But you are there, you're doing the same thing that he wants to do, but just that he's in Ghana and he doesn't have the resources. So how can you help him? So he used to make copies of his software from school and his tutorials, and he will ship it for me to put it in our Pentium 2 machine. And the machine was
so
super slow.
That's old, guys, if you don't know.
Yeah, like we only had Pentium 1s and 2s. In fact, my boss had the Pentium 2 and I had the Pentium 1. And my machine is very limited. It can't sometimes run certain things on the software, and the software itself will go and it will just crash. So I always have to. So it became very frustrating at some point because I got to an appreciable level of understanding of the software and how to do certain things like modeling. But when I tried to attempt the difficult ones, which is modeling organic materials like human beings, like animals, with soft tissues and all that, it was very challenging. So my boss was just like, you know what, this is the time for you to go back to school because you spent 2 years with me. And I see that you've hit the ceiling in my space. And if you don't go back to school, you might be a useless case. And I was like, no, I'm so happy to be here because, you know what, the trick about this whole thing was that as of the time, people like Sarkodie, R2B's, Stage A and all that were coming up. And we were all from the same place, Tema. I was in Tema Community 7. And I was very big on t-shirt printing and graphic designing. So I was printing designs that were promoting these guys.
Right.
And I got some good name in Tema. Like if you think about t-shirt printing, you think about some few names, and I'm one of the names that will come up. So I thought,
you've arrived.
You gotta think big, okay? That was an arrival for me. But also, you know, life has its own ways because as of the time, it was more of survival for me. So making those coins and being able to afford certain things felt good to me, you know, but forgetting that I had a bigger vision and purpose. So the guy reminded me of my vision. Because that was the first thing he asked me when I got to his space. So he was like, what do you want to be in future? And I said, I want to be like Disney. And it was like, do you know what you're saying? I said, yeah, I know.
That's amazing. I love that. And what I've noticed is that throughout your journey, like you had your grandma and now you had your boss who spoke into you.
Yes.
Can you speak about the importance of having mentors and people that can see further, you know, than you, and how that has impacted you?
Mentorship to me, I mean, for me, it's one of the biggest things anyone can have. Growing up, and even if you hit your pinnacle, you still need someone that a reasoning, sound voice that can talk to you and guide you through your journey. Someone who can see you for who you can be and where you are at the moment, and you know, guide you through. Sometimes they say follow who no road, right? That's my mantra. Like follow who no road. Like only listen to those who have made it in life, or who have made it in the space that you're going to, which is very true. But at the same time, it is good to also listen to people who just have pure wisdom. You know, it's not all the time that certain people, you might be richer or something than them, but they have some element to their personality that when you're able to imbibe will really help you go to the next level. And that was Barnabas for me. He he wasn't like the richest guy in the area. Maybe at some point when I started making the t-shirt, I was making some few coins, and I was seeing that we weren't getting work at job, but I'll be okay and sit there. So he was very firm with me on that, and he said, if you don't go back to school, then leave my place.
So you went back to school?
No, I didn't want to still.
But you did.
So I ended up doing it, but guess what? He was the one who actually walked all the way to NAFTI to go grab me the forms. He saw that there's admission, the admission is rolling, and he came to tell me that, see, I'm taking myself back to school because of you. I'm going to do a short course in photography.
Oh, wow.
So you to go back to school. So after his short course, I applied for my 4-year degree course and the undergrad course, and I was selected out of. So we had about NAFTIAS at the time. Today it's called Unimark. NAFTIAS at the time. It's a very niche school. They were only taking in very few. The whole school could be around 120 students, from level 100 to 200.
Oh, wow.
400.
1, 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah, so we had about 3,000 people applying. They said they only selected 300 people for common entrance exams. After the common entrance exams, my year group, they selected 45 people for the whole year, level 100. And even after the 45, they dropped up to, by our graduation time, we're just about 23. Yeah. And I was fortunate enough to be one of those who graduated that year.
And at graduation, what did you get?
Yes. So during the graduation, I completed the school. I graduated with overall best animation film and overall best film.
Nice.
Yes.
What was that feeling like when you won that award?
The feeling was great.
Yeah.
And but to me, in a way, it was quite assured. It was assured in the sense that I really worked hard for it. I really, really, because I started prepping for that particular moment from my second year. So from my second year, I was already thinking about my graduation film. From my very first year, before I got into the school, my whole ambition was to go outside of the country to learn from these French schools and the South African schools.
Right.
It's because I was constantly following what they were doing at school. So that in itself made me very curious about their school websites,
right?
The type of student productions that were coming out and all that. So I was always in line with them. Sheridan, Goblin, ArtFX, ESMA. I was always really head deep into their affairs, seeing what they're producing each and every year. And I told myself, if I'm going to come out in that same year with these students, they shouldn't go and leave me.
Right. Yeah.
Because we are going to compete in the world at the same time. We are peers. So if I'm going to do something for my graduation film, it needs to be on their level.
Right.
So I started doing my research in my second year. And by third year, I had something conk. I knew that I was going to do it. My head of department at the time, she didn't buy the idea at all. She was like, it's too ambitious for a student to produce that. Even if you go to Disney and you bring Disney artists and join you, for the time period that you have to produce this, you can't do it. Do something simple. I said, Madam, leave me alone. I'll do my thing. That's the trait that when I want to do something,
you do it.
Yeah.
You need Francis. Yeah. I want to talk about Animax FYB.
Right.
Your baby. Was owning the studio always a dream? How do we get here?
No, not at all. So I mean, I've always been an artist, and I only wanted to be the best of it, to be a creative. But then I ended up becoming an accidental entrepreneur because I wanted my creativity and my craft to be utilized in a space like this.
Right.
But unfortunately, when I completed school and I was asking myself what is next, I realized that there was no full-time running animation studio in Ghana that could employ my service. All that there was were just ad agencies who were producing some 50, 30, 60 seconds animations here and there for commercials. So I came at a crossroads where I wanted to leave the country to go either study or work with a bigger studio because they have that pipeline created an opportunity for my skill set. But after so many deliberations, and also knowing myself, I'm such a Pan-Africanist. Like I love Africa, I love Ghana, and I believe in also keeping our talent here, not extracting them, because those who came before me, the best ones always left because they also faced the same predicament that I was facing at the time. But because of the love and passion I have for this place, that's Ghana, I decided to stay and be the bridge, to create a space that could harness young and new talents coming up so that we can tell our own stories. Because at film school, we used to say, we need to tell our own stories. But when we get the opportunity to tell our stories, we always want to tell a James Bond film story. We want to tell the tea and bread type of story.
What's tea and bread?
Tea and bread. That's a very European or American type of. Tea and bread is not.
I was thinking Milo, and when you said tea and bread, I was thinking
tea and bread. I mean, it's not our thing.
Right.
That breakfast is not our thing. Ours is cocoa. Watch it.
Okay.
Fufu. Kenke.
No, fufu for breakfast, that's too much.
Yeah,
Kenke for breakfast, that's good.
Yeah.
That's what you had today, right?
Yeah. I had 3 balls. Yeah, so I stayed and not knowing what I was going to put myself into or what I'm putting myself into, I started the studio. And the name Animax FYB Studios actually was my nickname, Animax, at the film school. Everyone was calling me Animax, and it's because I call myself animation to the maximum. Period, right? Yes. So it just came to me and it's like, okay, that's the name.
And then the FYB, why did you add that?
Okay, so the FYB, I added it because as of the time, I was going to register the company to make it official. And I was doing some research to find out if it's going to conflict with any other brand. And I realized that there is an Animax channel in Japan, which is for kids, and they show anime and live action content and all that. So Walt Disney called the whole studio his full name, Walt Disney. So why not me?
Period.
So I just used my acronyms, right?
FYB.
FYB.
Nice.
Francis Y. Brown.
All right.
Yeah.
So paint us the picture. Day 1 at Animax FYB. What did that look like?
Man.
It looked like 2 cities in a dream.
No, I had moved past 2 cities. That would be day one wasn't inside the space. Day 1 was me moving out of the hostel. So 2 cities and a dream, that's where it starts from. But the dream, actually, that's the day 1. Started at Kokomemle. Yes, Kokomemle, where the day was full of anxiety, a lot of anxiety, yet wrapped up in a lot of ambition. And I remember how I was just blazing my hip hop music because I'm a very
What song
big,
were you playing? Do you remember?
So I'm a very old school hip hop head. So I was listening to Immortal Technique.
Oh, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
dude is deep. Like his words are deep. So Immortal Technique blazing throughout my apartment. It wasn't my apartment. Actually, I was staying with somebody because I was literally going to be homeless the day before. So she offered to give me a room in her space, someone that I was working on a project with. And I was making notes, a lot of notes about how I want to see myself in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. And I'll pause, I'll sketch, and I'll pause and I'll look into the internet and see where I can submit my graduation film. And I'll pause and I'll be looking into which festival has selected my film. Okay, how am I going to travel now? Because that's when the traveling opportunities started coming my way big time. And yeah, so that day felt like 72 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can, like, as you were describing, I can see that.
Yeah.
You know, the anxiety, the music. Well, congrats. If that day didn't start, we wouldn't be here.
True.
That's amazing. So you spoke about travel. You went to Nigeria. How did that come about? Let's talk about that.
So I went to Nigeria. I went to stay in Nigeria for a couple of months, maybe about 2-3 months. And before then, I was part of a very vibrant community online on Facebook. Our name was Animation West Africa. And the founding fathers, I'll say I was one of them because we're one of the early people to put it together. And the platform was full of Nigerians, actually, because as of the time, Nigerians were the ones who were hungry for animation. You could see talents popping up here and there. And most of them became my friends because of my films that I'd produced in the past, like Beggar, Agrada, and now Agokoli, which is my graduation film. So they just came around, and it got to a point in the history of the studio where I needed a switch in terms of environment, mindset, in terms of work ethics and all that. And yeah, Nigeria felt like the place to give me that pump, that energy. And when I went there, truth to be told, it was definitely what I needed because the art space was very vibrant and it was also very welcoming. Like, the guys were ready to move, were ready to do stuff. So even on my return, I came back with some of them, and yeah, the rest became history.
It's like you found your people.
Yeah.
And what does it take to, well, what do you look for someone who wants to be a part of the Animax FYB team? What was building your team look like?
Okay, so I think my initial team has always been, even up to now, it has always been about, it's like storytelling. When you're telling a story, as a filmmaker, there's a little bit of it that you find yourself in. If you can't relate to it, you might lose track because it needs to resonate. So I look out for people who are very passionate about what they want to do in animation. I'm not so big on I'm super creative, I'm super talented, because I believe that if someone who is more disciplined focus on what they do, they will come and surpass a lazy artist. It doesn't matter how creative or how talented you are. If a disciplined person decides to go head and toe with you, you might be in trouble. So I look for people who are very disciplined, people who look out for details and are ready to learn and expand, like myself.
Yeah, period.
We have a small exhibition going on, and it's always here. Over here shows the origins of animation, how it started off with zoetrope down to the new age color technicolor, creating colors for animation. And the history of animation in Africa, how Mustafa Alassani, who is the godfather of African animation, also started creating short animation using politics as his background to do propaganda works and all that, down to people like ourselves, and also festivals even coming out as the result of that. Then animation of Ghana starting from the school I went to, because they've always had an animation department, as it was built to serve BBC, that's GBC, sorry, that's Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. The school was built to be the workforce arm of the corporation. Yes.
Okay.
So they always trained people in animation, and then but then no one was, or a lot of people, most of them were not producing animations for storytelling, more for commercial basis. So when we had people like Akroma producing Glyco, Zangaro producing USID, he tried something first with narrative where it goes commercial, and that's Akolao Kwahin Zangaro.
Right,
yes.
yeah.
And over here too tells my story about this 2 cities and a dream. Finishing school and you're almost becoming a homeless person, and having just 2 cities to take trotro from Cantonment to Kokomemle, just so that someone can look out for you, you know. And yes, when it was happening, I had this with me. I only had my bag and one bag in my hand, and this was my backpack. That's the laptop that I used. And over here you see my membership card for being a member at the Emmys.
Nice.
Yeah. That's International Academy of Television Arts and Science.
I love that.
Yeah. So how it started
and how it's going.
Yeah.
This is how it's going. Let's talk about this right here. We want to talk about what you've done since opening your studio.
Yeah.
Some of the work you've done. You've worked with LeBron and Nike, and also your work has been featured on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about those accomplishments. How did those come about?
I mean, they you know, everything came through process, right? Before then, we had done stuff for UNICEF and GIZ, the French Embassy, and all that. So it was a journey that was building itself out to be an international brand. And Animax in itself, for 11 years of our operations, or almost 11 years of our operations, we can count the number of Ghanaian brands that we work with on these 5 fingertips. So, and it's because of how it all started, the international recognition and all that. But with LeBron James, Nike, it came through a producer, an American producer that came to the table to do stuff with us. And also same for Amazon Prime. With that, it came as a result of COVID time, when everyone was just getting scared about, oh, we're not going to school, we are going to stay home and all that. They were looking for projects and stuff that can actually take care of kids at school and at home, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
And Mafra is a project that was for that purpose, preschoolers, you know, so there's how some of these things came about. But we worked with like Gate and Melinda. Calipo, yes, Calipo is the only Ghanaian brand that I would say we've worked with directly and for a bit of a long time.
Is that Jordan? Where's that?
That's LeBron James.
Oh, that's LeBron James.
Yeah, that's LeBron James. Yes.
Oh, I know Nike.
Yes, Nike.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. So that like, as you can see here, these are the Ghanaian brands here: Woodin, Calipo, EMY, Africa, and that's all.
So, what are some challenges that you faced in this industry?
I mean, everyone you ask this question will tell you, finances, right? Yes, finance is definitely a central, and maybe it might be a forever thing, because even Disney struggles to sometimes give out money to do certain productions. So finances is crucial to everyone. But then one thing that has been very crucial to us is skilled talent. We have a lot of talented young ones in Ghana, in West Africa, in Africa. But the challenge about it is that they have not gone through the funnel. So you might find about 5 different creatives or animators standing here right now. When you tell them to work on a project together, you see that there is disparity in skill sets. So it has always been one of our things where we train people that we work with through our pipeline for them to be able to understand how to create on a level, on a standard level, where your work can fuse into mine and pipe into someone else, and we'll still get the same quality and on the same level.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the training that you guys are doing right now.
Yes. So that actually led up to, because we've always trained our people, our teammates, to work on projects.
Right.
And sometimes too, we use projects as our training mechanism. And aside from that too, another challenge that I can think of would be the fact that Ghana doesn't really have a strong film board where we create policies that enables our creative art. So, for example, if I compare myself to my colleagues in South Africa, whenever they go to bed and dream of any great idea and they wake up, they're able to put together a strong pitch and go to their film board and ask for the film grant that this is what we want to do, and that this person is interested, they are going to give us this amount of money, so can you supplement it? But even in Ghana, if you tell me I have a project that is costing 1 cedi and you say you give me 3 cedis, that will be it. I won't find any other support from institutions that are supposed to support us, that are supposed to build policies that even create a very strong backbone for us. So it makes everything just anyhow. And lastly, I would say that the right infrastructures, especially in the training institutions. Our training institutions lack a lot of trained personnel to really train the people who are coming to the field to work. So you will find students come out of school and most of them branch out because they don't have the prerequisite skill set to really fit into an ongoing project. It becomes very difficult. So I think it's about time our training institutions train the trainers to be able to give us fine talent to work with.
Nice, to catch up. Okay, nice. So I have a few more questions, and I know we're chatting a lot. We can wrap up soon. One thing that I really like about obviously everything that you're doing is that your animation is not just entertainment. You're teaching African history, you know, in the place where a lot of people don't know African history. Tell me why that is so personal to you.
That's very personal to me because, you know, we as Africans, I feel like we don't have so much luxury of time to be just wallowing in entertainment. I see it from a very psychological standpoint that most of these entertainment things that we always go about and create is just to block something, you know, just to numb some pain, just to while away time and all that. It's because we don't have a very strong self-identity. We don't know who we are. So we've just been taken for granted and we are just doing anything for doing sake. So I believe that for us to really be able to be progressive and know what our future needs to look like and be, we need to go into the past to learn about ourselves, who we were before even the colonizers, and when the colonizers came and why we are here,
Right.
and what we need to take out of this to be able to move to the next stage in our evolution as Africans. So our work has been very deep in, you say history, but then I see it more as in identity. Because for you to know where you are headed, you need to understand who you are, to know your strengths and your weaknesses, right?
I like that. I love that. More life to Animax FYB.
Thank you. Thank you.
So 10 plus years in, this is your 11th, going on to your 11th year. What is the one single lesson that you've learned from what you've done so far?
Man, it would be very hard to just put it in one, right? Just be mindful. That's all. Mindfulness. Yeah, be mindful, be intentional, be critical. Because once you're mindful, you'll be intentional about things, right? And so being intentional about things will be, for me, being an accidental entrepreneur. At some point, I just got to know that I need to understand the business,
Right.
but also I need to hold in or hone into my core, my strength, which is creativity. So we need to also learn how to designate, you know,
Right.
give things to others to do what they got to do.
Right. Okay.
And to do it best.
Yeah.
Animation is world building. So one man can't sit in their bedroom and say, I'm creating animation. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
You need to be able to separate the work, the labor, separation of labor, and let people do what they do best. And you see that when you bring it together, you have something strong.
Right. Be mindful and pick the right people, essentially, on your team.
Basically.
Nice. Okay. So my last question for you, beyond awards, beyond entertainment, the history, what impact do you want to leave? Do you want to leave when you're not here anymore?
Yeah, when I'm not here anymore, I want to be known as the guy who really helped bring closer Africa to the point where everyone becomes very much self-aware, self-conscious, and have pride in ourselves for being who we are as people of early civilization.
Okay, period. Well, Francis, thank you so much. I want to keep going, but you're a busy man, and I know your time is up. Thank you for spending time with me.
Thank you for having me.
Telling us your story, guys. So this is it with the amazing Francis, founder of Animax FYB, the award-winning animation studio in Ghana, okay? So you guys check him out. Look at his website. Go look at all the films that he's done. They're amazing. All right, hey guys, so that's a wrap with Animax FYB and the founder, Francis Y. Brown. So if you guys want to check the page out, make sure you are following them on Instagram, Max FYB Studios. Their website is animaxfybstudios.com. LinkedIn, Animax FYB. The same is on X or Twitter. So check them out, guys. Bye.
Every day, 'cause I'm stuck for the holiday. Light one make we jubilate. Light one make we jubilate. See the way you dey move to the beat, you can tell that this song is a banger.